We didn't go to the Grand Caymans for an overseas bank account. We just wanted to see how many of their birds we could count.
Thank you for tuning in to Hannah and Eric Go Birding, podcast by birders for birders.
I'm Hannah and he's Eric.
And we created this podcast to share our adventures, sometimes misadventures, and opinions that we have on different birding topics. We're definitely not experts, and anything that we discuss that might be controversial, I want you to remember, their own opinions might be different from yours.
Just before we jump into it, the Great Backyard Bird Count is coming up pretty soon. It's February 13th through the 16th. And this is another Cornell Lab of Ornithology project along with Audubon and Birds Canada and other organizations that are working together, to create these big days so people can get out and count birds and help
big days,
contribute.
Big weekends, big whatevers, just to get as much data as possible in a cohesive manner.
I feel like there's a different one every month.
Yeah, sure. I'm down for participating in group projects like this.
You're down for participating in group projects?
If I don't have to write up the
I
summary,
see. If you don't have to do the work, you're up for it.
I can the data collection portion of the group project. I'm all sorts, but analyzing that data, I think there's more qualified people than me.
I don't know that we ever did a group project together in school.
I don't think we did. We went to high school together, and we didn't do a group project together.
We really didn't have that many classes together.
That's true. You were in advanced classes, and I was in regular classes. So.
Well, and band was pretty much the only class we had.
Oh, group! We did group projects in band. Yeah,
because we all played a game.
Yeah, because we all played the song together. Yeah.
Well, we were also in that basketball weights class that we had to play basketball together.
That's true. We played basketball there
yeah,
too. That's a group project.
You're right. That kind of is.
Yeah.
You were much better at that than me. Anyways, between the dates of February 13th and 16th, go out and go birding in your backyard, preferably, for as little as 15 minutes, and help identify species, count them, submit your sightings to eBird, and just, try to help provide some data for those dates. And we'll include that information in the show notes if you want to learn more about how to participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count.
Yeah.
And as always, if you want to support our show, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee or a Venmo that you can help support us. But, it's also a huge support to us that you're just out there listening.
Just listening is enough support for me.
Yeah, because we do want to share the knowledge and the interest in birds and birding. And, so please, just listen and share with others if you so wish. And if you'd like to support us, like I said, there's Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo on our show notes.
Yeah. All right. So, Hannah, you've got 2 other podcasts that come out in between episodes of Hannah and Eric Go Birding. Last week, you had an episode of Women Birders Happy Hour come out. Who'd you have on for that?
Well, so it was a whole panic about getting somebody on because the person that was supposed to be on had a medical emergency. But we got it all figured out. And fortunately, the medical emergency didn't turn out to be as bad as she was concerned about.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah. So anyways, on this episode, I had Melba Aguilera, who was our guide that we'll talk about, I think, in our next episode.
From Cozumel, right?
Yep, from going to Cozumel. So she was on the episode with me, and that came out on January 15th. And one of the fun things about doing that podcast is that, I make a cocktail based on a bird that is mentioned during the episode. And one of the species that she talked a lot about was Cozumel vireo. And there is not a whole lot of information that's published about Cozumel vireos, which is just wild to me because, we've been on the island, and we can talk about it in the episode where we actually get into it. But if you look at Birds of the World or Wikipedia or any of these sources where I find out information about birds, it doesn't even list what the bird
links
eats.
To resources or anything.
I mean,
like
there's some, but usually it's compiled into these sources.
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't even list what their prey preference is, which is just wild because Cozumel is such a busy port, and these birds
tons of people go there. Yeah.
And these birds are super accessible.
Yeah. Well, and the island itself is pretty accessible. I mean, like you said, we can talk about Cozumel when we talk about Cozumel. This is an episode about Grand Cayman.
But anyways, my point was that when you go out and participate in the Great Backyard Bird Count, if you do it in places like this, it actually adds a lot of information to the collective knowledge because there isn't that much information that's posted.
Lots of information on U.S. birds, not as much information on
the other 10,300 species or whatever we're at now.
I mean, there's tons of information. It's just not in the right places, and maybe it doesn't go deep enough on so many of these species. But this is great ways to add information.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
So my other podcast.
Yes, your other podcast, the one that comes out next week. Bird Nerd Book Club comes out next week. And you've got a book you read and an author you interviewed?
Yeah, so I have The Bird Friendly City by Professor Tim Beatley, and that has been a really fun book, especially since you and I have been doing presentations on bird-friendly homes. So it's kind of taking more of a wider lens,
city
of
approach as opposed to a single house
exactly
approach.
What communities themselves can be doing. So check either of those out anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah. So we are going to be going to a couple of places coming up soon. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to Japan. We will be over in Japan for 2 weeks.
10 days.
10 days. Super excited to go up into the north of Japan, down to the south, going to see cranes in the south and sea eagles and owls in the north. Very excited about that. And then in April, we're going to be guiding at Spring Chirp Bird Festival down in the Rio Grande Valley. I can't wait to get back. And we literally just got back from another bird festival. We were down in Morro Bay. We'll be talking about that in a couple episodes. But great bird festival we just got back from. If you have never been to any of these bird festivals, all of the ones that we go to, I highly recommend going to. It's like they're lots of fun. Lots of fun, lots of cool birds to see, lots of cool people to hang out with. So great time had by all.
Yeah, and we don't really have a whole lot on our schedule because we are doing a major house renovation, and that has taken up all of our time. So
yes, going to be very busy with that for the next while.
I don't know, 10 years, who knows? So that brings us to our January Bird Nerd giveaway. And what we asked you to respond to us with was, what bird has made you laugh the hardest while watching it? And in the last episode, we talked about black-bellied bustards.
Yeah, and I feel like I should have added a caveat then, not because you want to make fun of the bird, just because the interaction is a funny interaction or a funny thing the bird is doing. I don't want people to think I was trying to disparage this black-bellied bustard, because they make a hilarious noise, and it was just so surprising to hear the description. Sounds like a cork pop, and then you literally hear the noise of this bird, and it's just it's spot on, and
it's hilarious.
It just took us by surprise, and it is very funny.
Well, okay, so while we've been doing this, I thought of another bird that makes us laugh really hard.
Okay.
And those are white-tipped doves.
Oh my god, okay, yes. That one is another one that makes me laugh very hard. Watching the male white-tipped doves as they are courting the females.
Yeah.
The behavior that they do in Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, in the spring. They're all over the place, but we would see them at feeders. We'd be sitting in the blind at the feeder, and the males you'd hear them come out of the bush, and the females just duping along, just as they're walking.
Their call it's described as, it sounds like somebody blowing on the top of a jug.
Yeah, just hoo hoo.
Yeah,
is usually how it kind of sounds. The males, when they're courting the females, they'll do this call that's even louder. It is basically the same call, but it seems to be more insistent. It's like a hoo 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 hoo.
But they also puff themselves up.
They puff up and they chase the females.
They throw their wings back.
Yeah, it is a goofy interaction to watch because
they're so serious.
The females do not seem to care. They're constantly running away I'm just trying to eat. And then the males are just hoo 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 as they're chasing them down.
Pay attention to me.
None of them are flying. They're just doing this all on the ground, just running around in circles. And that was pretty darn funny the first couple of times I saw that.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of laughter.
So anyways, we had some great responses about great egrets that were catching snakes, and also American coots, which of course are very funny to watch also because they have those big feet that just look
watching them try to run is really funny on land. Exactly.
But our randomly selected Bird Nerd giveaway winner has to be Dan, who posted about Florida scrub jays.
Oh, yes.
And that they were landing on his head. Because they're such charismatic birds that just do not have a care in the world.
Yeah.
And will just come up to you, and they're so funny.
Yeah, I've had chickadees land on me, on my hand. I stick my hand out, I have a chickadee land on my hand before. I've had other small birds like that, usually in really cold climates where they're just so desperate for food, they're just trying to find food anywhere. Florida is not a location that has a dearth of food for the most part for these birds. So it is kind of, it's interesting that the scrub jays were behaving that way for him. But yeah, just landing right on his head. That made me laugh as soon as I saw the photo. So thank you, Dan, for submitting, and we'll be reaching out to get contact info for you so we can get you your goofy socks.
And just tune in next episode for the next Bird Nerd giveaway.
Yeah.
So, getting back to Caribbean birding, because our last episode was in the snow, and so we wanted to have this one again.
To get a reprieve out of the cold and back and forth, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're looking for some place to go in the cold, you might consider a place like Grand Cayman. And as we mentioned in our episode about Jamaica, we were on a family cruise, and so that's why we were traveling there. And just to reiterate, sometimes we've had issues finding guides in some of these different locations because, you're there for one day and it doesn't always align.
The guides don't necessarily live in the port town or near the port town that you're going to. And like for us, it's always kind of a last minute scheduling. So then now we don't have any flexibility. It's literally just the one day.
Yeah. And
it starts, we have to start at this time and end by this time.
Got like 5 hours on one day.
Essentially a half day tour of some sort, or sometimes less than a half a day tour. And we're limited to just the single day that the ship is stopping. So it puts a lot of parameters on being able to plan it. So we were able to get contacts in all of our stops this time, but we've had a lot of bad luck trying to get it in the past. So very happy that we got it this time.
Yeah, and the Caribbean Birding Trail, they have a great webpage of recommended tour operators, and these guides have all been vetted through Birds Caribbean and have completed a training with them. And they actually have a number of guides pretty much most of the islands.
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Yeah, there's usually like one or two options that are on those on that page, so that's super helpful. And the guides have been really responsive to us. So yeah, I'm really excited, and every time somebody posts on Birding Travel like, hey, I'm traveling to this island in the Caribbean,
you're like, oh, here's a link, you should check out the Birds Caribbean Trail.
I feel like I sound like a broken record about it, but like I don't know, I'm really excited about Birds Caribbean. They do some cool stuff.
Yeah. And
I would love to actually work with them some more
in depth than just hiring guides that they vet.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, that led us to Geddes, who is a wildlife biologist and originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but now located in Grand Cayman. And he has a company called Silver Thatch Excursions. So we touched base in advance, and, he was kind of like, well, I may have to work, but let's touch base closer to when you get there, and I'll let you know. So we did, like, right at the beginning of November, and he was like, yes, I'm available. Here's the rate and everything. And we're like,
he's
cool.
like, I don't have the entire day, but I have most of the day.
Yeah. And
it's like, all right, well, if most of the day, that's more than none of the day.
Yeah.
So we have no way to get to these birding locations without somebody. So you're hired. Let's do this. So it was actually, like Hannah said, it was pretty easy to get in contact with him. He was very responsive. We've had a lot of success, like Hannah said, with other guides being responsive, just not being available.
Well, and one of the things that you might consider if you're looking to hire a guide, a lot of people in the U.S. and a lot of people outside of the U.S. use WhatsApp to communicate.
Yeah.
And so that has tended to be the best way for us to contact people. We'll like email them first. And usually it's like, hey, is it better if we contact via WhatsApp? Because it's on their phone, and it's, usually folks outside the U.S. are using WhatsApp to communicate with friends and family.
With their family and everything like that.
Yeah, so we just were messaging them on WhatsApp, which worked out really well for us because
you have internet.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to use the cell phone signal, you can do it over Wi-Fi. No matter what type of phone or carrier or anything you have, if you have Wi-Fi, you can use WhatsApp to contact whoever you need to contact. Kind of convenient.
Yeah. So our ship arrived at 7 a.m. that day, and in Grand Cayman, you have to tender from the ship to the dock, and we got the earliest group number that we could, which ended up being group 5, which I thought was actually pretty good because it gets into like 15 or 20.
It gets pretty high. So tendering on a cruise ship, for anybody who hasn't been on a cruise ship, is different from when you dock. So when you tender, either the ship itself drops its own boats and like its own lifeboats basically, and then brings you back and forth, or the island or wherever you're going provides shuttle boats that shuttle all day long back and forth. And it's usually reserved for places that have sensitive habitat or really shallow ports that the cruise ship can't actually access and get into. So Grand Cayman is one of those. You can't, you have the reef that's around by, you have the lagoon and the reef that's close by. So anything that gets close, you risk damaging all of that habitat and nature and covering it with sediment if it's too shallow or whatever it is. So you tender, and typically on cruise ships, if you don't have a scheduled excursion with the ship, they kind of prioritize you last for getting off the ship.
Well, no, not necessarily.
They have the scheduled ones, which usually is the 1 through 4, whatever, the beginning tenders. Right. And then if you're not scheduled with one through the ship, the first group you can get is usually after all of those people have gone. Is typically how it ends up being. But this one, we got scheduled to Group 5. So Group 5 was the first of the poke tenders. So we got down to, I can't remember, it was like 7 o'clock or something like that, is when we docked.
We got there as soon
as we thought reasonable to get in line before everyone else, essentially, and stand there and wait. And so we're standing down there and waiting. They called Group 1, and like 5 people went down the stairs to get on the tender. And then it was like, okay, well, what about Group 2? They say, like, same thing, like 5 people go down. And so it's like, okay, well, these excursions obviously didn't need these first tenders. The people didn't think they did, at least.
Yeah.
So we're standing down there at the entrance to the exit to the ship, waiting and waiting and waiting. And then we talked to one person. They were like, oh, you can't get off yet. You have to wait till your group number is called. And so we're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll stand here. Well, that's fair. We'll stand here and wait. We waited. That they called Group 3. Same thing. Like 5 people went down. And these tenders usually hold like 300 people or like 200 people. They hold a significant portion of people on these tenders that go back and forth. And like we knew that we watched the boats come up out of one of the windows of the ship. So we're like, all right, well, it's any second now they're gonna go to the next one. And then one of the staff members is like, what group are you guys in? We're like 5, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And we flagged out, we go down, and there's like nobody on the boat. And so the boat was less than halfway full. The first one going back to shore. So I was like, all right, well, that's fine. It gets us there. We didn't have to. I was really thinking they were going to make us wait until like the second tender. Yeah. But we got on the first boat going back to shore. So going to shore. So that was kind of nice and convenient.
So Geddes had arranged for us to meet at a shopping complex that was just like a few hundred feet away. Mm-hmm. That has it was a stingray statue.
Yeah, I think it was a big stingray. Yeah.
And so he gave really clear instructions. We got right there. He was sitting there waiting for us.
Yeah, just pacing back and forth.
And we walked over and we were like, hey, we think we're supposed to meet you.
Yeah.
And his truck was parked right there. So yeah, we hopped in and we were off to Burton.
Yeah. So throughout the whole day, Geddes, he was a wealth of information about how Grand Cayman works, how Cayman Islands in general work politically, economically, all of that stuff. I am not going to pretend to even remember that I pretend to say that I remembered everything that he had to say about it. So much information. Some of the big takeaways that I had is that he loves his job because he goes to the port, which is in the main city, the only big city on the whole island. He goes there before the cruise ships arrive, before anybody is going to work. Sits there and waits, and then loads up whoever he's guiding for the day, and then he heads out, going the exact opposite direction. Everyone is going for work, because banking is the number one. Banking and finance is the economy of the island. Yeah. So everyone's coming in, working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So they're all piling into town from out kind of in the more rural areas and the more residential areas of the island. He's going the exact opposite every single day. He's like, it's kind of nice. I go the exact opposite of traffic. I'm driving out of town while they're all driving in.
And it was like bumper to bumper.
It was bumper to bumper, like for probably half the island.
Yeah.
Like literally half the length of the island is bumper to bumper traffic going in to the city. So it's like, I'm glad we didn't have to deal with that.
Works for us.
Works for us too. Yeah, we don't sit in traffic. Not only do we not sit in traffic in the morning, but also in the afternoon, same thing. Everyone's bumper to bumper leaving town while we're headed into town. So that was kind of convenient too.
Yeah, and so he brought up about how the tax system kind of works in Grand Cayman, about how there's very low personal taxes of any sort, and there's a pretty high pretty high import tax.
Yeah.
And then there's some other business taxes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like pretty ideal situation.
Except for that everything that you use
that's true,
is imported. So your the price of taxes gets built into the price of the product that you're buying.
Yeah.
So it's a different way
you just
of
have to
doing
be
it.
Self-sustaining.
Yeah, you have to find a way to use less, have to buy less things, and then you pay less taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just it's a different way to operate than like the way we operate here in Oregon, or in many other states. So
yeah. Well, we also don't have sales tax here.
We don't have sales tax in Oregon, but we have an income tax.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Taxes.
Taxes.
So the first stop was to check Consuelo Beach to see if there were any seabirds, as there had been a hurricane that came through a couple weeks before, which we've talked about, and he wanted to see if any birds had possibly blown in.
Or were still lingering around after the storm, which it had been a couple of weeks, so there wasn't really a high expectation, but you don't know until you check.
Yeah, it's worth looking.
And it was on the way, so.
The park that we were at, the little park, had white-winged dove and magnificent frigate bird, osprey, northern mockingbird, palm warbler. So
good start to the list.
Yeah, not a whole lot, but we just stopped for about 5 minutes or so, and then we were off to the Governor Michael Gore Bird Sanctuary, which was kind of in a neighborhood right around there. It kind of reminded me of like Lafitte's Cove in Galveston, that it was just like a residential area pond, in the middle of a residential area.
So this is one of the only hotspots that when I was looking on the map that I was like, oh, that's got to be a good hotspot. And it's just because of the name. And I think it's because it says bird sanctuary. And I have a feeling
we're suckers for bird sanctuaries.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that name being attached to a hotspot. So it was like, bird sanctuary, that's got to be a good spot. The time of day we went, time of year, all of that stuff lining up, it wasn't necessarily a super great spot to bird. We had much better other spots that were just kind of like random things.
Well, it was at 8:15 in the morning, so it wasn't like super late.
No, it wasn't super late. I think it was time of year is the reason why it's not. It didn't perform as well as I would expect for the title of the name. But,
because this was in November.
Yeah, so. Exactly. It's not really migration things. It's the beginning of like fall migration or whatever, things coming in for the winter, but not spring migration when things are traveling through, which I think is when it's the busiest in this particular hotspot.
There were a number of smooth-billed Donnies, though, which...
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't love seeing a smooth-billed Donnie?
Acting like mice or squirrels hopping around in the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were right outside in like an abandoned lot. Mm-hmm. But inside the little reserve there, I mean, it was only like, I don't know, 200-foot walk on a boardwalk.
Yeah, it's a really short boardwalk. Overlook. And
And there were some greater Antillean grackles. Mm-hmm. The main thing when we were leaving, though, was that there were Cuban parrots. And that was really what we were kind of looking for.
That's what he was hoping, because I think they breed at that island. Or
there's like Cayman Island subspecies.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, they call it, in parts, they call it a Brock parrot. But,
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't know. There's some literature I was reading about that. And then it led me to like, what is a Brock parrot? And I couldn't find anything about it. Okay. And so then I finally figured out that it was the Cayman Islands subspecies.
It's a colloquial term for the Cayman Islands subspecies of Cuban Amazon?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had some in trees that were like right above the houses, and we didn't get a great look at them. So we were like, yeah, we saw it, but we'd like to see them a little bit more.
It'll go on the list because it's the only Amazon, so it was calling, and you heard it calling as it flew over. And then we kind of just barely saw it. It's like, okay, well, it goes on the list because it was present and we could identify that that's what it was, but we didn't get a great look at it.
So our next stop was to go to an old quarry that was not very far away from there.
Yeah.
And that spot was interesting because we hopped a fence to get into it, or a gate.
That was another thing. Geddes was interesting about. I'm sure I trust him. This is what he does. He's been vetted by Birds Caribbean and all that stuff, but he was very much like, these private property things don't really matter. People don't really care. It's long as you're not being a jerk and being weird about it.
I think he had relationships with a lot of people
He definitely had relationships, because there were a few places that we went that he either
knew the homeowner,
stood and talked to the homeowner, or he just told us, oh, this is so and so's house. I come here, and he's been working in this community for a long time, so he's going around all these spots. So it's probably more so that he has a relationship than that private property things are different. It's probably kind of maybe it's a mix of the two is what the whole result of that is.
Yeah.
We hopped a little gate and kind of wandered around the edges of this gate, went down into this quarry. I think they were trying to keep people out from vandalizing stuff down there.
Or dumping.
Or dumping is probably actually
because
what it
there was a whole bunch of junk down there.
Yeah.
Like old government vehicles.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's what it was. Stop people from dumping down there. But we wandered down, and it was interesting because it's this. They had quarried out the coral rock. So like the whole island is made out of this coral rock. It's like really holy and pockmarked and
a lot of like fossilized coral.
Fossilized coral is what this our entire island is made of.
So cool because sometimes like you just find like a whole brain coral, this rock.
Yeah, just a rock brain coral. Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting substrate.
Yeah.
For the whole island. Also makes it really difficult to plant things, which
and impossible to walk on.
Impossible to walk on, especially if you're walking barefoot or something. And that also leads to why you have to import so much stuff because you can't really farm it. You can't really farm it, and then the ground is going to be so porous that you're not going to have a lot of fresh water. Like salt water is going to intrude right into your fresh water and the groundwater. So, you can't really be self-sustaining as an island. You have to do a lot of imports.
And they have a reverse osmosis water system there to be able to get their water. Because, like you said...
They can't produce enough water out of just straight groundwater pulling it out because there's too much salt intrusion. So, so it's a lot of work to survive on these islands, especially when you get as many people as what are on, like, that live in Georgetown. Like, that's a lot of people on an island that doesn't have a lot of natural resources itself.
But I think he said that there was only 7 stoplights on the whole island. So anyways, we went down to the like lake that was where the old quarry was.
Yeah, it's like rainwater.
It's like a marshy area more. And there were smooth-billed anis playing around again. So I can't get enough of anis.
They're a lot of fun. I love to take pictures of them because I feel like they really ham it up for the camera.
Yeah. There was little blue herons, and we got down a little bit further to like more of a forested area. I couldn't remember what kind of trees they were. Were they eucalyptuses?
I think they were. No, I wish I could. I don't remember now. I thought they were eucalyptus, but now I'm doubting that's what it was.
It was a pretty significant tree.
Yeah.
But there were
a non-native tree to them.
There were banana quits that were playing around in the lower branches, and then a white-crowned dove nearby.
White-crowned pigeon.
I'm sorry, white-crowned pigeon.
Yeah.
That was nearby. So we got a couple more good birds in there, and then he took us out to an overlook over the ocean, which again was walking over this fossilized coral that is impossible to walk over, and had a magnificent frigate bird. So. Yeah,
and so this overlook is actually during breeding season is a area that seabirds nest. It's a very large seabird nesting colony that the National Trust helps protect. The Cayman Islands National Trust helps protect this area, and the private property owner that is the last house right before you go out to it. She apparently is very much into keeping people out of there when the birds are nesting because it's they're sensitive birds. They nest on the ground. You literally just walk right up to the nest, and you could steal as many eggs and baby birds as you want if you wanted to be a jerk and do that. So she helps keep people out. The National Trust helps keep people out of that area just to protect these seabirds that are already just endangered and having issues anyways, because it's all sorts of seabirds are having issues around the world.
Right. And on the way back, we were walking through like some shrubby vegetation, and there were malachite butterflies all over the place, which is so cool.
This hummingbird, this butterfly, it's just like this gorgeous, like shimmery green, and it's like underneath it doesn't look so good, but the outer of its feathers, wings are just amazing.
It's like a black and green swallowtail.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with swallowtails, it's like a black and green one of those. They're just stunning butterflies. I've seen a couple of them in South Texas. They don't come through all the time, but it's really special when they do. Yeah. So it was so
there was
cool.
So many of them.
Yeah, to walk down a path and they're just all over the place.
That was like the predominant butterfly on that particular path. So it was super cool.
All of these last couple trips that we've been on just make me think like I need to get back into butterflying and get better at that because I really do enjoy looking at butterflies, and even more so, I enjoy knowing their names. Yeah, and it's always super impressive when somebody knows butterfly names.
Especially because there's so many different like families of butterflies, and it's the same thing as birds. It's just another thing of
Yep. Got to move down to South Texas again so
you can see them more frequently.
So I can get back into butterflies. Yeah, because up here you just got like whites and sulfurs. Ugh. Impossible.
Skippers. We have skippers, don't we?
Oh, that's even worse. So we told Geddes that one of our targets was West Indian whistling ducks, and that's a species that I feel like every time we go into the Caribbean on a cruise, all couple times, I'm always like, okay, this time we are going to get the West Indian whistling duck. And
we're finally going to get it.
Oh, it's so frustrating. So, yeah, I was really hoping that he would help us out on that. And he knew a spot that had potential, which is called the Mission House. And it's a historic house and park with a couple of lakes behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled up to it, and there was like a little overlook looking over the lake, which wasn't a huge lake.
It was kind of overgrown right at the overlook, so you could only see a portion of the lake. But there was common gallinule, blackneck stilt, pied-billed grebe that are all just kind of hanging around out, floating around in the water. So that was kind of, it was like, okay, cool, tick tick tick, get a couple more species. But we really wanted to see if we can get another lifer here. And he was like, oh, Geddes told us, oh, don't worry. If we don't get a West Indian whistling duck here, there's some other places I know that could be pretty good for him. So
we went off the boardwalk and then around onto the road that passes through the two lakes, and we found green heron, black-crowned night heron, a couple other greater Antillean grackles, mockingbirds, and everything. And then finally, just as we were about to leave, Eric was looking in the brush.
I was scanning every inch of the reeds that were sticking up. Not very tall reeds, but just scanning every inch of them. So I was like, I gotta find something new here.
And then out of the grass, the like marshy grass, is a white West Indian whistling duck.
A duck head. A duck head and part of its back.
Yeah.
We're just kind of sticking out. I was like, oh, it's whistling duck. And the only one whistling duck there, so West Indian whistling duck. So we got that guy. We also had an agouti.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think agouti. It's like this large rodent, rounded rodent. It's very round. Doesn't have a tail. It's
kind of rabbitish.
It's a mix between like a rabbit and a nutria, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the first time we've ever seen one of those.
First one I've seen one in real life, so that was pretty darn cool. But that was in somebody's yard right there where we're standing, looking at the West Indian whistling duck, and turn around and boom, right there, agouti was walking along.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
And we also had a woodpecker. We thought we had heard a woodpecker calling over there. And so we wandered around a little bit more around the buildings. No woodpecker that we could find. But he decided that we should go check out another overlook over a lake again to see if we could find any more whistling ducks. We had one more there, and blue-winged teal and lesser scaup. This lake was pretty significant.
It was a very large lake. And
it did get, it was brackish from the seawater does flow into there, but it also...
It's got a lot of rainwater, but the rainwater filters out and into the ocean, so it's kind of, or into the Gulf.
But it was like it's
somewhat tidally influenced, so the tide goes up, and it doesn't go up and down a lot, but it goes up and down a little bit. So there was some tidal influence to this area, so making it brackish.
But he did say that when the tide is in, then he gets like a ton of frigate birds.
Yeah.
That come and
eat all the fishes that are hanging around in the water.
Yeah, which I kind of wish we would have been able to see that, because he made it sound like it was hundreds.
Yeah. That would have been pretty cool.
We did have willets there and greater yellowlegs, so we were getting some of the shorebirds that we needed to add into our list for this location.
Yeah, and so from that overlook, we went down a road that kind of split between two sections of this big giant lake, and we get maybe like a quarter of the way down the road or halfway down the road or so, and Geddes just turns to me. He didn't ask me, he didn't prep me or anything for it, but he was like, "Hey, can you fish out of that window right there?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you're on that side. Just stick your head out and pish. I want to see if we can get some bird activity right here." I was like, "Okay." So I was like, just kind of. I was like, "I don't know what specifically. Like, or do you want me to like?" I don't know. So I literally just nothing more sophisticated than that. The most basic of all pishes, and out of nowhere, this yellow dot just comes. And comes right over to within like 10 feet of the truck that we were in. Yeah. And it started chattering at me like super mad. And it's like, oh, literally, I almost posted about this on Facebook the other day because there was some, on Red Polling, there was a whole discussion about pishing and stuff. But this is literally the only time I have ever had any success with just straight up pishing. I've tried pishing. I've tried fancy stuff. Every once in a while, you get something like a kinglet to get interested, or a chickadee that are already very aggressive birds that are going to go after whatever to try to defend territory, but never really had any success in anything besides that. And even those is just marginal success. But it was a mangrove yellow warbler, recently split from just yellow warbler. was so mad. Just came flying over to the truck and then was just like staring at us like, how dare you? And literally just nothing more sophisticated than that. So it was like, all right, well, the one time I've had some success with this, and it was a pretty interesting bird, this mangrove yellow warbler.
Okay, so this whole mangrove yellow warbler situation, like, I don't...
Split within, like, months before we went on this trip.
Yeah, it was just split, and so we had it in Texas already, but we had it when it was a subspecies of yellow warbler.
Yeah.
And this mangrove yellow warbler that they have in Grand Cayman looks just like a yellow warbler.
It barely... It has a little bit of extra orange on its head, but it doesn't have, like, that, like, deep red orange mask.
Like that you get in South Texas.
Yeah. So I would like I need to read more, have somebody explain it to me. Like there are like 6 subspecies now of mangrove yellow warbler, and then northern yellow warbler is all by itself, no subspecies. So it's like it seems so complicated. So this is a Greater Antillean mangrove yellow warbler.
Yeah.
So it basically looks to me. If I would have just seen this, I would not have said mangrove yellow warbler. I would have said northern yellow warbler. Had this not been split or talked about or anything crazy like that.
I think that's what I said. Like, oh, it's a yellow warbler.
Yeah.
And then Geddes was like, no, it's a mangrove yellow warbler. And it was,
and he called it, I think he called it a Cayman Island mangrove warbler.
Oh,
I don't even think he referred to it as mangrove yellow or yellow. Like in his mind, it has always been different. It is a different bird than what's everywhere else. But it was interesting that it was so similar to northern yellow, but is categorized as mangrove yellow, and it is in mangroves. And
it's non-migratory.
Yeah, it's non-migratory. It just hangs out here,
and so that's why. I mean, it's like. I'm wondering what the length of time is before they split them all into all these different ones, because
probably just more research.
We've seen mangrove warbler in 3 different places.
Yeah,
and so
all 3 look vastly different from each other.
Yeah,
all 3 are non-migratory.
Yeah, and that means that we would get armchair lifers.
Yeah,
so
maybe someday.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, but so really, really interesting. Like I said. First ever success of
You actually got
fishing.
some good pictures of it.
I mean, it was right there. I mean, I would have been disappointed if I didn't get any quality photos out of this bird. It just literally just came right up to the truck, and it's just like, hey, I'm pretty mad at you guys. Why are you here? So
such a cute mad, though.
Yeah.
So from there, after we got some great looks at that, we still wanted to see Cuban Amazon, and Geddes decided that we should go over to the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Gardens, which wasn't that much further because nothing's that far.
Because nothing's that far on Grand Cayman.
Yeah. And we stopped on the entrance road because that was a potential place for Vitilline Warbler. And we got there, and we were just kind of like looking through the understory, and I was seeing things like move in the background, and every time I saw something move, it was like an American redstart or a yellow-throated warbler, which is like, I love seeing those birds. I love warblers, but it's like, you're not the warbler I'm looking for. So finally he found one, a Vitilline warbler, calling.
It was calling, yeah. That's what first alerted us to it. It has a unique call. I'm not going to try to sing it, but I think I got a good enough recording. I can use it as audio for beginner end of this episode. Yeah, but that's what alerted him to it. He's like, okay, it's calling. Let's see if we can get eyes on it. So I got a couple of recordings while it was calling, and then we finally got a pretty darn good look at this warbler. That, like, I don't prairie warbler.
Yeah,
I guess
I think it's
kind of the way this guy looks. So it's kind of like an interesting pattern. It's got some stuff on his face, some black and yellow on his face. It's got some wing bar, or not bars, but like textured, like striping on the wings. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting looking bird.
We also had Yucatan vireos, which we...
Calling lots and lots and lots.
Jamaica was our lifer one, and so we had a couple here also. So that was good to get another look at those. And then the Cuban Amazons were calling from right above the pond that's like near the entrance to the Botanic Garden. So, man, we got fantastic looks at those birds. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we like Hannah said, Geddes has a good relationship with pretty much every single spot that we stopped at. So he was like, oh yeah, you can go in there, use the restroom, and then we'll continue birding. So we headed in, used the restroom, and Nice clean restrooms.
Oh yeah, cute little visitor
Gift
area
shop,
that
yeah.
I kind of wish I had time to go through.
I know. I wish we would have bought something out of it. That would have been probably should have bought something at that. I don't know why we didn't. I didn't think.
I didn't have my wallet.
Oh, yeah.
Like I left it in the car.
Yeah, I didn't even think to look around to see if there's anything like any sort of souvenir-y stuff to buy from the Botanic Garden.
Also, you know how it is. You always feel like you're pressed for time.
Yeah. Well, you want to get back out and keep birding.
Well, also like you're concerned about getting back to the cruise on time.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we were birding there and went to the bathroom, and just right outside of the visitor center there were these big, I think they were palms, some palms and
covered in some plant that was growing up at like a viney plant covering the palm.
Yeah, and there was a flicker that was right in there, a Grand Cayman Island flicker.
Yeah, northern flicker, Grand Cayman Island subspecies.
Yeah.
So
we're getting all these subspecies
the different subspecies you could ever imagine. We also had a West Indian woodpecker flew into the tree and then back out of the tree. And that was about all we got. That's all we got to see on that guy.
Yeah.
It's a Melanurpes woodpecker, so it kind of looks like a red-bellied, kind of looks like a golden-fronted. It's kind of in that same family of woodpeckers. It's got a gorgeous black eye, like it's wearing like eyeshadows.
Or it's got like the winged
the wing,
winged mascara thing
or
eyeliner thing.
Yeah, so it's
I don't know makeup.
It's a good looking woodpecker, but its general vibe is red bellied.
Yeah,
it's Melanurpes. It's in that family of woodpeckers, so kind of cool. Get a look at that. But this location, this Botanic Garden, is a release location for an endemic endangered species that's pretty big. A pretty big deal. There's signs all over the place about it.
Yeah, so we drove into the back, which I think is a public area. There were like parking spots, or it could have been for employees. I don't know, but I wasn't driving, and I'm not in charge of the day, so I was excited about it. But as Eric mentioned, all of these endemic endangered species were on the road, and
everywhere
they're blue iguanas. Which some of them are massive, and they also will like attack car tires as they're like driving past. So there was a huge one that we were driving along, and Geddes, I mean, he knows it really well because
he's like has his head hanging out, and he's like yelling at this iguana
to
get
he's
out
like
of the
trying
road.
to shoo it away.
Trying to shoo it away because he's like because that's something that happened. These iguanas won't adapt to people.
Yeah.
Don't have any fear of people, but just choose not to adapt or just can't adapt and get run over by cars all the time. They go underneath cars in parking lots. There's signs all over the place saying
check your tires.
Check under your car before you start moving, because they'll go underneath to either get out of the sun, to get out of the heat, or to stay warm in the insulated area underneath your car when it starts getting dark. They just do whatever they feel like doing to survive, and you run them over and kill them. So that is a big issue with these guys, because they'll just do that all the time. And so there's lots of signs to not do that. And I imagine they're also really easy to catch, to eat, to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So that I'm sure that's a massive part of their demise as to why they were doing so poorly until they're protected. Now it's like the national animal of Grand Cayman is like. They have signs for blue iguanas everywhere. There was a bunch of restaurants named that in Georgetown. There was signs all over the highway about how amazing these guys are. So
I feel like I've heard of blue iguana restaurants before, and I never
never put two and two together.
Well, I mean, I didn't know about blue iguanas until we were there.
I didn't know anything about them until we got there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But they are, like I said, they're huge, and they're really pretty too. They're like the males are like a pastel blue color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like almost like jade.
Yeah, and so this area they release them in this Botanic Garden or outside of this Botanic Garden somewhere near it, and that's kind of like their stronghold. They help captive breed them and release them so that they can keep going. And any of the released ones, they have these beads that they pin to their neck, and it's kind of like banding for birds, but they're banding them with these beads that they put on their neck, and they're color coded so they can identify when it was released, where it was released, all of that stuff in these beads that are on its neck. But there was a bunch of young ones that didn't have any beads.
Yeah,
and Geddes was like, anyone that has a bead is captive bred and released. Any of these other ones are wild born, just fully wild. And there's a whole bunch of young ones that were just fully wild that didn't have any beads. And it's like, that's super cool.
Yeah, totally.
It's some level of success of this breeding program in this area. Like, sure, they're super dense right here because this is where they release them, but this is where the breeding facility is. But still, there's wild ones that are not were never captive bred.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
And so we parked in an area that was kind of forested. Like I said, it might have been like employee parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of the iguanas were in their nursery in the back. But right near our car, man, it was good birding right there.
Such good birding right there.
We had a Grand Cayman bullfinch and Western spindalis.
Oh,
and
Western spindalis eating a cherry or berry or whatever that was. Ooh. Gorgeous bird. Yeah. Yellow and black and white.
And a Caribbean Alania and more Yucatan vireos. Like, that was the spot right there.
That was definitely the spot. Yeah, so from there, we didn't really get our fill. We were just running out of time. He had one more major stop for us and then another, like, an optional stop for us afterwards. But the next major stop that he had for us was a philanthropist's house.
Yeah, something like that.
Just giant mansion. That he's like, oh yeah, I know this guy. I can't remember what he said his name is, but this guy has been protecting birds on his property for years and didn't really know the impact that he was having. He just loves birds.
Well, he's
like, nobody can come on my property to do anything except for look at them.
It was like he had this pond and there were ducks in it and he was like, okay, cool.
I like ducks.
And that was like the last stronghold of like West Indian whistling ducks in Grand Cayman.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize.
Yeah, he had no idea that he was like essentially the only spot that you could find West Indian whistling ducks. Because he has a pond that was at the appropriate depth for these ducks to survive.
And it was isolated and protected.
It was isolated, protected. You couldn't see into it. And he didn't allow access except for people to come and to look at him. Yeah. And that's all it was. And he has like a wedding venue and stuff like that there too. But that's all it was. You could not come on here. They're fully protected when they're on his property. And we went there and there were tons. I put 120. It might have been 150. Might have been more than that. But it was at least 120 West Indian whistling ducks just all over. And it's like, why did we spend so much time looking earlier, Geddes? Come on, man. So we went to his property. They're all over the place. It was super cool. And this guy sounds like a really interesting guy. Very wealthy, has this property, and is making sure that nothing gets killed on his property.
Yeah, very cool. And he had a flock of geese. They were like just domestic geese, and he used them as guard dogs. And there was only one left, and the poor thing kept coming up to us and honking and looking for attention. Oh my gosh! And
Geddes is like, "Oh, he just wants to talk. He just wants to be friends. He's like, if you just ignore him, he'll wander around and he'll kind of walk away." And that goose is getting to the end of its life.
I know. I wanted to give him a hug.
I know. It's so sad, but yeah, all the rest of the birds. Healthy, young, doing their thing, living wild stuff. But that goose, it was a sad goose.
Yeah, I imagine that guy like sits there with a scotch or a whiskey or something in the middle of the night at night with his goose friend.
Yeah, and tosses food scraps out or whatever for the goose to eat.
Well, he probably has a glass of scotch too.
A glass of scotch for the goose.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So from there, Geddes is like, "Hey, let's go to the highest point on this island," and we're like, "Oh yeah." He's like, well, we're basically already there, but it's like 5 feet more.
Yeah,
5 feet more of elevation. So
my ears popped when we were up there.
Yeah, it was so high, it was crazy. The island is very flat. If we haven't made that clear, it's a very, very flat island. Not a lot of elevation differences, but at the highest part, there is used to be a Boy Scout camp or a church camp that is kind of defunct at this point. I think he said people still do go camping back there, but it's.
Like the road looked all destroyed.
Yeah, the road was pretty grown over. It was getting to that point. But we had some pretty good birds back there on that road. We had loggerhead kingbird, which was really interesting, like very obvious, just like the big head. It was very obvious kingbird. Some more vireos, some mockingbird. There was a couple other birds that we had already had, and then Grand Cayman bullfinch. Nothing new, but still good looks at good birds.
Yeah.
So it was pretty darn cool. And at that point, Geddes had an appointment that he had to go to, and then we had to start making our way back. So on our way back, we didn't make any stops the whole way back to the port.
No.
We just chatted the whole time with Geddes about what his plans are and all that stuff.
Well, and about the island.
About the island.
Yeah, about himself too, because he had been all over the place. I mean, I think
he'd been to the U.S. a bunch of times. He traveled all around the U.S.
Yeah,
and so and he really wants to go and do a West Coast road trip. Is what he wants to do. Come drive. We live on the West Coast of the U.S. So he was like, oh, so we gave him contact for our hotel, and I was like, oh, swing by if you get a chance. Like, let us know. But so we drop them off, settle up and everything, and we realized we still have like 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, before the last tender leaves shore.
No, that wasn't it. We were walking back to it,
But,
and I saw this big sign that says, like, boobies.
Yes, that's true. But I was looking at the time, and I was like, oh, we still have like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Like, there's time to do tourist shopping or get a beer or something.
Well,
and you saw the sign.
Yeah, I saw a sign that attracted my attention, said boobies, and just, we're not like Hooters people or anything like that, but it had blue-footed boobies.
It had a blue-footed booby and a red-footed booby on the sign. So I was like, okay, well, this isn't just like a random weird tourist place, like a tourist trap. Like, I mean, it probably still is, but it has relatively comicized, like blue-footed and red-footed booby. So it's like, all right, you have two different boobies. You have recognition that there are two different species. There might be something. More than two but you're recognizing different species, so it's like, all right, there might be something to this place.
Yeah. So we walked over there, and it's a little restaurant that's like not even that far off the main road.
Yeah.
And like Eric said, you know, it had the blue-footed, red-footed boobies. It had these huge like signs, like printed banners on the back wall that was all about like wildlife conservation.
Yeah.
In Grand Cayman.
Yeah, representing like the Cayman National Trust, and there's all these signs for it, and a bunch of large high quality, medium quality printed pictures of like of boobies, and then of this lake that's on a different island from where we were at. But this lake, I think it's called Booby Lake.
Okay.
That is the home to the largest colony of red-footed boobies in the Caribbean. So
okay.
It's a stronghold of those, and it's protected by the Cayman National Trust. And so there's all this information about that. It's like, all right, these people support this.
Yeah.
And there was a big bottle cap sign on the wall saying K-Brew, which is the island's local beer.
Yeah.
The only beer brewed on the island. So it's like, well, they have a beer that's brewed here.
They have everything we could have ever wanted.
And they have interpretive panels about birds. We should stop here for a few minutes and get a drink.
You know, when we're on road trips, my mom always asks, like, which sign would you see on the side of the highway what's something that would make you stop?
Yeah.
You know, because we're not people who normally like stop at touristy stops.
So it has to be something different than just like biggest ball of yarn.
Yeah. So
it's like not, that's something that doesn't draw our attention.
It's like free kittens.
Well, her sign is not free fudge, but fresh homemade fudge.
Yeah. And
that's the sign that she's like, I can stop there.
This one of beer and wildlife conservation was like, ah.
That was like the blending of two things that it's like, all right, well that makes sense. All right, let's stop here and see what they're about.
Yeah, so we each had a beer and sat down and enjoyed that, and you know, read their information that they had, and it was like I just couldn't let that place go, and so I made Eric buy a t-shirt.
I don't know where I'm ever going to get a chance to wear it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a shirt that requires too much explanation to wear. But it just says I heart boobies, and it's two boobies.
Yeah.
And they're appropriately placed on my chest. It's like, okay, well, I've got to find some place to wear. I should have brought it to the bird festival we just went to.
I know you should have.
That's probably the only appropriate place to wear this shirt. But
it was kind of a cool little vibe. I wish we would have had time to actually eat there.
Yeah. Looks like they had some good food.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like an open, like just kind of hole in the wall sort of place.
Yeah.
So it's not like a big fully fledged restaurant. It was actually kind of hot too for like a beer.
It was excessively hot for a beer. We were cooking.
I know.
And I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea to have a beer right now.
This right now.
We should drink some water instead. But you know, when in Rome.
Yeah.
Or when in Grand Cayman.
Yeah. So we got back on the cruise ship at the very last second, one of the last tenders, because we just had to savor every second that we had in Grand Cayman. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that was my second time being there. I went on a cruise with my parents without you.
Yeah, like years ago.
Yeah, and Grand Cayman was one of the stops, and we didn't really explore that much. I mean, we just kind of tried to go swimming nearby, and then ended up getting lunch. But it was fun to actually like go out and see like a lot of the island this time. Yeah,
because we pretty much drove from one end of the island all the way to the other end of the island. The only thing we didn't explore was the city itself of Georgetown.
Yeah,
didn't really see anything in the city. We saw the rest of the whole island, though. So I don't really feel like I need to see what's in the city. Like, it's probably a city. Probably has restaurants and
Looked like skyscrapers.
bars and businesses and stuff. Probably not what really my vibe.
Yeah.
The rest of the island is pretty much my vibe, so.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was driving through a lot of, like, small communities and just homes on the side of the highway.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it was a really interesting tour that we did.
Yeah. So next, next episode, we'll talk about the last stop on the ship, right?
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll potentially be talking about next time. But until then, thank you guys all for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and or learned something new. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or anywhere else you listen to us. If you would like to connect with us on the socials, you can follow us at Hannah Goes Birding and Eric Goes Birding on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page at Hannah and Eric Go Birding, or you can send us an email at hannahyandericgobirding@gmail.com. You can also check out our website at www.gobirdingpodcast.com. Tell us what you think and share the love of birding with your friends.